Hello, everybody, and welcome back to YCS Hartford. We are here at the Connecticut Convention Center, where the deck checks have just ended for the top 16 duelists, and we're ready to get the next round of the playoffs underway.
Yep, that's right. We are in the top 16, as you mentioned. Total event attendance, we've been talking about this all weekend, 1,247. Only 16 remain. So a little over, 10% of the field. Or 1% of the field, I guess, at that point.
Yeah. Right. So we get down to about 10% of the field after day one. We had, 129 players out of 1,247, something like that. And now we're down even closer. We're now in the single elimination rounds. One mistake can be absolutely costly because there are no second chances at this point in the tournament. And all of these duels are playing under the pressure. Our round 11 feature match winner, who went undefeated the entire time, fell in the first round of the playoffs to David C., that old curse he was talking about. Hani, in our last round feature match, dispatched Noah 2-0. Christian lost 2-0 as well. Now on the other side, we have Poe 1-2-0, Ted 1-2-0. Count had lost 2-1 to Dominic Couch. That's an interesting one. Braden defeated Thomas 2-1.
And then following up, Isaiah bested Matthew 2-1. James over Gary 2-0. Kyle over Nicholas 2-1. And then Panagiotis over Jing Yang 2-0. And then finally rounding it out, Pascal over Sebastian 2-1. Noah defeated Raymond 2-0. Andrew defeating Benito 2-0. And finally James over Mohammed at 2-1.
As you can see, those are our top 16 matchups there. The winners of, will face off against each other now.
It's been a long weekend. It's okay. We're all losing our voices out here. Everyone's just excited. We're all screaming every match. But it looks like our match is ready. So we're about to start screaming. Get ready, Jerome.
All right.
Let's head down to the feature match table. This is, once again, the top 16 of YCS Hartford. And in our feature match for this round, here is our first duelist. This is James from Houston, Texas. Favorite card, Cyber Angel Natasha.
All right, that's a good one.
Yeah, might be a little hint at what we expect to see there. And on the other side, we have Andrew from Detroit, Michigan. Favorite card, Orpheus Harp Horror.
My condolences.
Yeah, definitely favorite to some, bane to others.
Yep.
Yep. One of those cards, but it's okay as we are in the modern format of Yu-Gi-Oh! Right now. No reason to worry about things like Harp Horror. We've gone past that with the Forbidden Limitless, and so we will look towards what's happening here. As duels get shuffled up for the table. So it looks like James has a 10-2 record so far. Andrew with the 11-1. Now, it doesn't matter as much now, right? Because we're in the top 10 single elimination bracket. So it doesn't necessarily matter, but it's still cool to see, right? Just to see who exactly has had the most wins.
Yeah, and things happen all the time, like the number 1 seed losing to the number 32 seed. It happened just in this tournament. So, those records, just toss them out. We don't need it anymore. What's important here is that they're both 1-0 in the elimination rounds. And that's really the only option here. You either win or you go home.
Yeah, definitely. And we're going to see exactly that as these duels are fighting for their tournament lives, right? In this single elimination bracket. All the duels have a re-sleeve. That's why we took a little bit of an extended break there. That happens every top 16. Deck checks were underway and completed. And I'm sure they are just as eager to start as we are.
Absolutely. And if you like those sleeves, great. We use a lot of those as well. We got lots of them left, specifically for this purpose. But I also use them when we're putting together the Rivalry of Warlords decks and testing those out.
Yeah, they're definitely fun, especially to look at past designs. Right? I think everyone has different favorites. There's obviously been different iterations over the years of both the WCQ or YCS sleeves and some World Championship sleeves, right? Everyone has their own sort of design that they like the most.
I like the World Championship sleeves a lot. Like the ones from a few years back, the red and blue ones.
Oh, those are very cool. That was Tokyo, right? It was Tokyo 20...
Kyoto.
It was not Kyoto. I think it was for sure Tokyo. I can't remember the year, but I remember it was at the Mahuhari Messe.
Oh, yeah. Okay, it was that one.
Yeah. But that was very cool that there was 2 different colors. Yeah, it was like a unique thing to happen for the first time. Exactly. It was always super fun, but yeah. Those are definitely very coveted sleeves as well. But yeah, I really like this year's championship sleeves.
Oh,
Like
stars?
yeah. Also a big fan of like grays and blacks and things like that. So the fact that there's no like color pop on it, I'm a big fan of.
Yeah, I like those sleeves as well. I like all the stuff we've got going on for the championship with the Nibiru mat as well, the right of air this year, top cut.
Yeah, I mean, the Nibiru game mat is so cool, and especially for like how powerful of a card it is and how like kind of like simple artwork it has compared to a lot of other things, right? Like, look at rights, there's a lot going on. Beautiful card, like absolutely beautiful. Nibiru is just a big rock coming down to earth, and that's all I need. That's all I need. Big impact. But yeah, definitely very cool game mat designs this year, and I'm sure there's going to be even more throughout the rest of the season as well, and everything coming up. I saw the Dimension Force game mat as well with the Exo Sisters Magnifica. Another one with very, very cool artwork. There's also the Back to Duel game mat with the, is it Kings of the Court? The trap card.
Court of Cards.
Court of Cards, there we go. I was like, King's Court, King of Court, I can't remember, but yeah, that trap card. Also very cool art to see, like King's Knight, Queen's Knight, Jack's Knight, all on it.
Court of Cards is a really nice card, too. Like, if you played the Knights of Face cards deck over in Rivalry, you might have gotten a lot of good use out of that, just constantly special summoning back those monsters to the field. Or cashing them in for some draws.
Yeah, all to say, awesome promotional items coming out. And even past that, like even the accessories upcoming, there's a lot of very cool things you can even find in store.
Absolutely. We got, I think the next up is, what, the Tri-Brigade and Albaz?
Yes. Yes, yeah. I mean, awesome to just see, like, fan favorite themes, definitely. But to just get them all on, like, these singular designs, very, very cool.
I like the portfolio out of that collection.
Yeah. Alrighty, and it looks like our duels are ready. The judges have indeed started. We'll see who will be going first in game 1 of the top 16 of our YCS in Hartford, Connecticut. It looks like James has won the die roll. Ooh, gonna start things off with Drytron Nova. Allow him to search his deck for a Drytron special summon to the field. One of the few cards that can actually special summon the Drytron's in attack mode, so important to note. 2,000 attack, 0 defense, and it looks like he's going to go ahead and grab Alpha Thubin from his deck. Even his extra deck sleeves, I love this.
Yeah, the Medionis.
Yeah. Alright, he's going to go ahead and send it to the graveyard immediately for the Link Summon Link Creo, basically turning on its effect, right, so he can start tributing those Drytrons out of his hand, get those effects activated and fueling along. Looks like he has a grip of spells along with a Ritual Monster, so he's going to go ahead and tribute that Ritual Monster. Ooh, and it's the best one it could be. That's such a solid opening.
Oh, it's thrown in response.
That's huge because of how this interaction works, basically, right? Yeah. Yeah, so for those unfamiliar, basically, it tributes its cost, right, which is why this happens. So the Benton goes to the graveyard, and because DD Crow removes it from the graveyard before it has the chance to activate...
Basically, you can't activate the effect of a card that doesn't exist.
But it actually, he didn't DD Crow the Benton. He DD Crowed the Alpha.
Oh, the Thubin.
That's
fascinating.
That's super interesting. I guess, like, so if you crow the Benton, he gets the Thubin onto the field and then he searches any ritual.
Right.
Right? Whereas if you crow the Thubin, he's forced to search a fairy and he doesn't get the Drytron in play. Might be better. I guess it just depends on what other, maybe he has another point of interaction from the hand or similar, right, that he's trying to, like, sculpt around. But usually, like, whenever you throw that Benton, you always do it. So it's interesting to see this line. We'll see what James comes up with next here. It's going to use... Yep, so he went and searched that off of the Ben 10, right? One of the most... Like, I feel like Drytron was our vehicle. As soon as it got to Minor the Herald, oh, that card's so powerful.
Oh, he does. He's got the effect failure. So the perfect follow-up here for that sequence of plays.
That's smart. That's especially smart, knowing that he'd probably go ahead and search, like, that normal summon in the Diviner of the Heralds.
That's a brutal rest of his hand, though. What's he got there? Preparation of Rites?
Yeah, it looks like 3 spell cards, at least one being prep, but not enough to really keep anything going. Just stuck with the Link Reba alongside the Diviner of Heralds.
I think it was Prep, Forbidden, Droplet, Medionis, Drytron. And Andrew starts off with Swordsoul Emergence.
Yeah, it's doing what Swordsoul kind of does best, right? Disrupt you with a couple of hand effects, and now he's just going to do something real simple, real clean, and get some synchros going, likely a Chi-Chow, right? Get some draws in the on the way and eke out advantage now that the game state's a little bit simpler, right?
Special.
Starts off with Ecclesia.
Yeah.
Credible Ecclesia really kind of lives up to her name there, doesn't she?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's also one of the ways that the Swordsoul deck like does a little bit more, right? Sometimes leans a little bit more on like the 10 years or long one. Incredible Ecclesia, another one of those cards. He's going to go ahead and tribute off to get the Swordsoul of Taya.
I can manipulate the level. This one's summon a token if it's banished. No, it's tie 8. Okay. It can manipulate the level, it can turn into 7 or... No, I was talking about conversion. So when it's banished, is it create a token? No, it increases or decreases the level. Yeah, you're good.
Probably getting confused with Swordsoul Blackout, right?
Yes. Yeah. It's very easy to get those mixed up.
Cool.
Happens when all your cards do something and then do something else extra.
Yep. I think it tends to happen the most when the things they do are very similar or have like the same activation condition but are slightly different.
Yeah, no, 100%. Therion's being a recent example, right? Like,
yes.
They do a lot of things, some similar, some not.
Am I allowed to grab my token? Yes. You can. Oh, I'm sorry. First start.
Grabs a token. Oh, that's one of the older ones from one of the OTS packs.
Quick start token. Q1.
Mid-level 4 in this case.
Yep. It's going to go ahead and use it as a material alongside the Taya for a level 8 synchro. That's going to be Boxia, Brightness of the Yangzing.
Now, I'm a big Yangzing fan. That was my favorite out of the whole Duelist Alliance deck, so I'm always happy when Boxia comes back into play.
I remember when they were out Duel Alliance. I remember playing that year Duel the Master. Fun deck. Does a lot of cool things. I think Daglong might have hurt her be a little too much back in its reign to where, like, yeah. But I do agree that, like, Boxia and Yazi are very cool cards, right? They do very powerful things, especially in the Swordsoul deck. Ooh. So the Boxia activates. It's going to try... James is going to try to respond with Forbidden Droplet, sending away Herald the Arclight. But Andrew has
Heavenly Dragon Circle.
Yeah.
So Heavenly Dragon Circle is a fascinating card. It's a search card, but it's also a way to kind of like dodge things like this. Anything that targets, anything that needs your monster to stay on the field, you contribute it in response to activate Heavenly Dragon Circle, resolve your effect, and get a search.
It's interesting because when Swordsoul was first popular, not a card you saw a lot of play, right? Like, it took a few tournaments, then players really started playing it. And especially because of how strong it was and things like the mirror, right? Because there's a lot of effect failures, a lot of cards where they're trying to hit you with it, and it's exactly that, what you mentioned, Jerome. Like, being able to dodge those cards is what really caused it to shine.
Good card. And he searches Tenyu Spirit Ashuna with it.
I'll skip this one up.
Normal summons the Moyi. And that's enough for James. Makes sense. Hand didn't look particularly great. I don't really know what you draw to get out of that one.
Yeah, it's rough when you get, like, key cards like that basically just hit so hard by those hand effects, especially with something like Effect Failure, which is traditionally, like, not too strong at Drytron, right? Especially how it interacts with the effect monsters.
Yeah.
But the fact that he was able to use the DD Crow in the line that we didn't think he was going to take, so that his Effect Failure could then hit, like, the strongest card it could, big game, expert play by him.
Very smart.
Yeah. So how do you feel about Heavenly Dragon Circle right now in the format?
Dragon Circle, it's one of those things that there's really a whole lot of effects to dodge with it, at least in game one. I feel like there kind of aren't. Like, maybe you're dodging, effect failures on Moye, because it's not going to get you around things like Ash Blossom, for instance, that go after the effect rather than the monster. So I'm not really sure, what are we dodging?
Right? Yeah, I think especially right now, like, there's a lot of hand effects, right? It seems like this is the first time I've seen that card today in Swordsoul, yeah. But like
all weekend, I haven't seen it in any of the lists.
Right? Yeah, but like, obviously Andrew's in top 16, so it's working for him in some capacity. The hand effects I see that are most popular are like DD Crow, like absolute arsenal, right?
Ash Blossom, DD Crow,
and then like Effect Failure in third, basically.
Effect Failure or Infinite Impermanence.
Okay, yeah, depending on sort of whether you need like the normal summon little tuner, or you rather have something to sort of deal with cards on your own turn, right? Like, for example, Scythe.
Yep.
Like, that's a good example. So I think it really depends, but then when I look back and think about, like, Paolo's deck from yesterday, right? Like, the Libra Dancer deck that played, like, not only 3 Effect Veiler, not only 3 Impermanence, but, like, 3 Ghost Mourner, and things like that, where he's maxing out or on Effect Negation like that. If a player at that caliber really believes that those cards are some of the strongest right now, maybe Heavenly Circle or Heavenly Dragon Circle just lines up really well against some of these decks, but interesting to see regardless. Like, I'd like to see the Swordsoul decks after this tournament and see how many of them really play that card, and then how they adjust for the next one, right? It's all about how you're adjusting for the next tournament.
Yeah. Generally, with Dragon Sword, you want to use it on your own turn, right? So it's got to be those kinds of things. Like, you're not going to tribute your guy off to, in response to, say, Dracoback being activated on it. You're just going to let it go back and reuse it if you can.
Especially something like Dracoback that is just so free. Like, so free.
Like, you can't have it gain value in any way.
Yeah, exactly. We'll see how things play out in game 2. Like, James gets to go first again, right? The big thing about Drytron is one of those decks where when you go first, oh man, that deck feels powerful, right? Completely unhindered, a couple hand effects. Hey, you can power through them too. But those were just a couple very, very key ones. And to have the rest of your hand be that weak, that's a problem, right? He drew basically one Drytron in Nova, and that was it.
And if you play Master Duel, you probably know exactly what this is like. Drytron being very popular there. Of course, it's not as strong in the TCG as it is in Master Duel at the moment. So if you're wondering, where's Union Carrier, where's Ava, where's the third Benton, they will not be making an appearance this weekend.
Sorry. Bye, guys. 5.
I feel bad for my little boy Ava. I'm gonna be real. Yeah, I love that card so much. Sad to see him go. He was too good for this world anyway. That's how I figured.
He returned to his home planet.
Yeah, my heart. But yeah, regardless, it'll be exciting to see exactly how this plays out in game 2. Drytron, one of those decks where, like, if you're a Drytron player, you've probably been playing Drytron for a minute, right? Those are the kind of people who they play the deck into the ground, I think. Similar with, like, a lot of Dragon Link players, right? Like, they really like those decks. They get comfortable because there's a lot of interesting, like, combo lines you can take, and hopefully we see some of these in the next game here.
It's high investment as well. Like, once you put all that time into learning it, you're not really going to put that time into another deck that requires it as well.
Definitely. Especially when, like, we were talking about this deck, how it is a Master Duel, right? When it was more at, like, quote-unquote full power, right? Like, I remember Saul just talking about this nonstop, about the number of hours, and, like, I'd come to him like he was a mad scientist, like, in the corner room, like, I found a new Drytron combo today. It was just, like, so funny to see him just be that excited about it. Oh, my goodness.
That's not going to do.
Yeah, definitely not. That's rough.
Not going to do.
But this is the problem with... I was going to mention one thing. Like, Artifact Lancia, right, is one card I see in his hand right now. The one thing that Drytron, like, how you have to build the deck is it's all gas. You need all your cards to be playable turn 1. Otherwise, you're not doing too much. Artifact Lancia, one of those things that sort of works around that because it's a fairy, it's searchable by Ben 10. It's usually worth one inclusion. But, yeah, rough just going preparation for, I assume it was Ben 10, and then just passing. I'd be interested to see what this set card is, though.
Oh, he's drawn the MIDI on his Drytron again. That's rough. Seeing generally it's a one-off, almost certainly.
Yeah. Some of them were playing 2 for a while, but even then, like, definitely a low count card. Yeah, another strong start here. Emergency Moye.
Go ahead and Synchro Summon a level 8. And it is, it's Chi-Shao in this case.
If there's an opportunity to use Lancia if he wants to, but is it worthwhile is the question.
Really bad, I think I have to.
Yes, I called by the grave on Moye.
You're good.
Interesting. All right. Well, still going to get the search out of Chi-Shao.
Goes back to what I was mentioning before, though, right? Like, 2 sort of like non-engine cards, right? And Call by the Grave and Artifact Lancia making some of these one-ups much worse than they would be otherwise.
And Call by the Grave, like, you're supposed to have that to force through your own plays.
Yeah.
Not counter your opponents.
Arguably, like, one of the most powerful combo cards as well, right? Just because, like, it doesn't actually help your core or do anything, like, it's not a starter, but few cards can interact with things the way Call by the Grave does.
It's weird. It's kind of like substitutes for an extender in many cases.
Yes, yeah. Especially when one's like it does exactly do that. And the interesting part about it is that it lets you power through the most important card in your combo a lot of the time, right?
And you don't have to spend, other deck space on it like you do with Crossout Designator.
Exactly. This is rough. After that, Andrew's going to fire off a Pot of Desires, drawing 2 more cards.
Brutal.
Yeah, yeah.
Brutal.
He's just doing Swordsoul things, and that's it. That's all you need. Swordsoul is one of those decks that definitely capitalizes on weak hands, right? We saw Doug Zeep with you yesterday. If they're in a bad position or their hand looks weak, you can just put out game, right? Very, very quickly. And it looks like Andrew's thinking about just that. And whenever they do that little hand on that little pointy, things get scary.
It's the universal sign for math.
Yes, exactly.
Give you a turn.
Let's go ahead and activate Heavenly Dragon Circle. Alright. Tributes off Chishao. It's going to clear his field out, and he checks his face-down banished cards. Let's make sure that he hasn't already banished the card he wants to skip, which is the Ashuna.
Here you go.
Special summons Ashuna, links it away for Monk of the Tenny.
Picking on summon. Sure.
On summon, James now fires off the artifact Lancia. Good place to do it, now that there is a Tenny in the grave.
Yeah, definitely solid, especially getting Andrew to commit a couple additional cards, right? And putting him in a kind of awkward spot.
He should get another turn out of this.
Yeah, Andrew's already used his normal summon, right? Sort of shut off from a lot of the 10-E things because he can't banish, but still has the long one, which is going to let him discard a card to special summon it, get him a level 4 token, make a level 10 synchro. We'll see which one he chooses, but he's going to go ahead and go with a Baron here.
He cannot because of...
Oh, because
Oh, no, sorry, he didn't
activate it, yeah.
Didn't activate the other effect. I'm thinking back to the previous, the Doug Zeef match.
Yes, yes. Yeah, Baron a good one here, especially knowing that your opponent's hand's probably weak. If you can negate one key card, that's good. Also getting some incidental damage off the long one, making that clock a little faster. Important here.
Huge draw for James. This thing has to do a ton of work, and he comes up with Drytron Nova.
An okay one, but especially after seeing how weak him do nothing, right? If he activates Drytron Nova, how do you respond?
I mean, you just negate it.
Right, yeah.
That's normally what you do anyways when you see Drytron Nova. If you have exactly one thing that you could do and you see Drytron Nova, that's generally the one that you go for.
Yep.
And just hope they don't have it.
Yeah.
And in fact, he does not have it. And Andrew takes a swift 2-0 victory over Drytron. That's brutal hands, though.
Yeah, yeah. Very, very brutal. I mean, positive sportsmanship from James, right? Yep, you play a deck like that, right? A lot of people consider decks like this, Glass Cannon is a word I don't like to use, but when you look at Drytron and what it does, kind of, right? It's either going to pop off crazy, or you're going to have trouble getting out of the gate. And that's what we saw here, and especially game 1, it was really just how Andrew's deck is designed to beat these decks, right? I'm going to disrupt you a couple times, and that's going to be enough for me to just, put out enough damage or put you on a faster clock where it matters. Game 2 is really James' deck sort of crumbling to itself, right? Too many of these non-core engine cards, too many of the one-ofs that you're required to play, but you don't really want to see the things you want to find out by searches, like the ritual spell, for example. It's tough beats, but you kind of know that's what you sign up for when playing these decks.
Yep, and top 16 is not a bad run at all.
No, not whatsoever.
Yeah.
And it looks like we're going to cut to a commercial break before getting an interview with our Swordsoul duelist. We'll be back soon with more coverage from YCS Hartford.